Let me show you something spicy from my collection. This is a mint condition, limited edition, 1989 Local Motion saddlebag. This is what I'm talking about. This is going to look so good on one of my builds. In fact, I have just the one in mind. This one, to be exact. I thought the pink bits would go with the pink bits. I always was good with colours. So when I recently built this thing, I promised that you'd get to see me and some of my mates giving this and a bunch of other collectible bikes the beating they deserve in Scotland. But before we load up the van, I obviously have to decide which from the collection is worthy of a retro mountain bike weekend. I think for me the golden rule is anything that predates V-brakes is worthy of contention. I know a lot of you of different ages might disagree with that, but if we're talking sort of pre-1995, 96, that still gives us a lot to choose from. Obviously, if we're ruling out V-brakes, then we're sure as heck not talking about disc brakes, so all of this lot stays locked down. Obviously, the 1992 Dyna-Tech twins are coming. If you don't already know the life story of these bikes, then you've been watching the wrong YouTube channels. This one certainly made the shortlist. I keep it here at work as an ornament in a meeting room. It's an homage to the early 90s. What I've basically done here is take the basic frame, in this case Reynolds 501, from a Rally Yukon, and done what we all would have done as kids, which is festoon it in upgrades. I've got a full DX group set on here. I've got the Hite-Rite, I've got the turbo, the flex stem, even some Suntour XC Pro here, and these grips, which of course are worth more than Fabergé eggs. The reason I'm not taking this with me for the weekend of beating is that the Tioga Psycho 2 tyres are so sketchy that I get the fear whenever I ride this thing that it's going to wash out from under me. So an ornament it remains. This is probably the one I ride the most often. I keep it at work for doing errands in the big city, untroubled by thieves. But despite its complete time capsule 1988 spec, it is nevertheless a low spec and also very heavy. So I don't think I'm going to be taking it off-road. This 94 S-Works Prestige with the full XTR is what I might modestly call YouTube famous at this point. It's had a bit of a beating since I first restored it. It goes on the maybe list. Unfortunately, just because it's a miniature size, and even if I did find a metre-long seat post, it's a bit weird for me to ride, given the discrepancy in its size and mine, so I remain unsure. The 87 Saracen Trekker is a firm favourite. I love this bike. You may have seen it at Manchester Airport. They use it to tow the Boeing 747s around on the runways. As its name suggests, it is built for heavy-duty trekking. It is not for weaving around in single track and playing in the forest, and for that reason, it's staying in the bunker. The S-Works M4. This was my main ride back in '99, inspired by the late Jason McCroy, including the high-rise handlebars there, but otherwise a real dog's breakfast of a build. Who puts British carbon pace forks on an American aluminium frame? Only a weirdo. Also, who runs it single speed? Only somebody with a lot more strength and fitness than I currently have. Plus the fact that from 1999, this isn't technically retro enough, so in the bunker it stays. Before the S-Works, this was my daily ride as far back as 1993. It's a little different to how I used to have it, but it's still authentic to the period. It's got full XT, it's including the beautiful wheels, not including the XC Pro champagne brakes, which certainly I didn't have at the time. But once I've put the knobbly tyres back on it, this is going to ride exactly as it did when I was a teenager. And for that reason, I absolutely can't wait to take it with me and enjoy some nostalgia. And if we're talking about origin stories, then I can't go on a retro mountain biking weekend without taking the bike that started it all. This 1988 Ridgeback 602 SIS is set up exactly, and I mean exactly, as I had mine right back at the beginning of my mountain bike obsession. It rides like a oiled pig, but I don't care. It's such a wonderful experience getting back on this thing, especially off-road. So I think that's the team sheet ready to go in the van. I can't wait to see what the other riders are bringing. And if you haven't subscribed and hit the bell already, then make sure you do, because there's another reason why this trip is going to be particularly juicy, and that is that this bike is trying to kill me. The cause of the potential fatality is this ultra-lightweight USE seat post. Now this thing was designed for a racing snake to get one season out of 3 decades ago. It was not designed for a portly bon viveur to use as a toy year in, year out. And no matter how much I grease or adjust the torque on these two very slender bolts, the creaking, popping and clicking sound that comes from them when I ride is becoming unnerving. So my bet is that in the course of this weekend, one of these is going to snap and the bike is going to insert itself into my fundament. So if that's not a reason to stay tuned, I don't know what is. See you on the other side.